Welcome back to Talkin' Baseball. We've got a lot to talk about. We are previewing the entire East region and some updates. Let's do it. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Talkin' Baseball. My name is Jimmy. Sitting right next to me is Jake in California. We got Trev, producer BBD, behind the desk. We hope you had a fantastic weekend. We've got some updates, we've got some news, and we have a big ol' preview of the Eastern region. The NL East, the AL East. Really quick, Trev, how you doing?
I'm doing excellent. I mean, every single day, we're closer to opening day. And, you know, I've been watching a lot of these Intrasquad highlights and games. I'm kind of getting excited. I think this could be a fun year. I was down on it, but when you start to see baseballs flying around the park and guys having fun, it's exciting.
Jake?
The Intrasquad games are funny. There has been a noticeable growth after 3 fake Intrasquad games that we've gone from not baseball to pitchers dominating fake baseball to now it's like, okay, now we're kind of doing it. So it's fun to get some highlights over the weekend. And yeah, I'm ready, man. I'm so shook. I've been taking a real stance on ESPN continually playing this 3 hours Eagles concert, and they're doing it again tonight, and I just can't believe it. So I'm so ready for pro baseball to be here. The only scare this weekend was I thought live games started this week for some reason.
Oh,
so
that's a bummer.
I came up. I was coming up hot, and I had to level off again. But other than that, I'm pretty good.
Are there any of the like actual I don't know what they're calling them, spring training, summer camp games against other teams this week?
Exhibition start Friday?
I think Friday.
Thursday?
Yeah. So maybe that counts for you.
Yeah, that's like half points.
They've been getting more real, the games. Like the first Yankees one, they didn't have outfielders. And I will say, it looks like other teams are doing it more real than the Yankees still. I mean, I don't have access. The Dodgers are putting some on YouTube, so I watch some of those. They have a Cubby playing left field, so I guess that's not that real. The Yankees straight up aren't running the bases, aren't doing anything. Trev, how many games would you need to feel like real baseball? You know, like some of these Intrasquad games aren't there. They're doing somersaults. The Cubbies playing left field. They're only going to get 3 against another opponent. Do you think like we're going to see some really bad offense to start the year?
I think so. I mean, it depends on the guy. You know, some guys don't need a lot of live ABs. They feel ready to go. Some guys need a lot. So it's going to be interesting to see kind of who comes out hot. But, you know, in my experience, you got to have like 20, 25 ABs under your bat, and then you're like, okay, I'm picking up spin, I'm recognizing pitches, and it's tough when you're doing these Intrasquad games. It's always different. So I'm looking forward to seeing like the matchups against the other teams, and then I think we'll be able to kind of make a decision on like if guys are ready or not, because the Intrasquad games don't tell you that much.
And it's tough, too. I mean, you get a couple deep-cut guys from every organization. You get the guy from AAA that throws across his body, and you're just like, okay, dude, like, nobody's going to hit that right now because they're not locked in and no one's ever seen you before. So, yeah, I think the exhibition games will be fun to see how dialed up they have it because, again, final spin to Yankee World. I mean, Cole went like 5 innings, 6 innings, 80-something pitches, something like that.
Yeah, he threw 60-something, then 80-something, and he looks rather good.
And, you know, a well-known, intense dude, so it's going to be funny to see, you know, he's going to get an exhibition start against the Mets, I think.
Yeah, it squares up that he'll get the first exhibition game.
And then he'll be opening night against the Nats, so it'll be interesting to see, you know, that dude looks dialed in, and I can only imagine your first game after a couple intra-squads and exhibitions seeing that guy shove. But I don't know. Someone will get hot early, and we'll get someone over 20 home runs. Boom.
Some of the Yankees batters were actually like, yeah, I can't wait to not face our own pitchers anymore.
Be great.
Yeah. Has Paxton thrown it all?
Paxtaddy?
I haven't seen him.
I don't think in a game.
All right. Well,
okay.
yeah, this is talking.
Yeah,
Yanks.
talking
Anyway.
Yanks. Sorry.
The Dodgers seem to be hitting a ton of home runs still. Their pitchers don't seem to be mowing them down. I don't know who's out there for them, but every team's different. Trev, Lindor does the somersault scoring on Clevenger. A lot of people love it. I love it for the Intrasquad games. Are you jealous? Are you watching all these guys, or is this like a version of baseball that you never got to play?
No, I don't want to be part of these games at all. I never liked inter-squad games. It's funny to see everyone reacting the way they do. And you'll notice, I would say a majority of the guys are enjoying it, having fun, but I guarantee if you look closely, there are some pitchers out there that aren't very happy. I remember inter-squadding, and when you're a hitter, you're behind. So when you square a ball up, you get so happy. And I remember doing this one time. I was a young guy. I got like a base hit, and I would raised my hands up. I was like, yes. And the pitcher was not happy with me. And I was like, that has nothing to do with you, bro. I'm just excited that I made contact and I got a base hit. So it's funny to see all these guys doing that because some of the pitchers aren't.
What'd you say that pitcher's full name was again?
It was Brian Dunsing.
Okay.
Yeah. Great guy. We're friends. It was just at that moment in time, he was not happy that I was showing him up.
Did you see Yelich finally got a base hit and they kept the ball for him?
Yeah.
It's good. Baseball content, baby.
There's a lot of stuff out there that's fun, like the catcher cam, the somersaults, and all that.
Love the catcher cam.
I have a bit of old grouch in me. Like, I don't want that I see everyone clamoring for it for real games. Like, I don't want, maybe replay of the catcher cam.
I think some replays, it's fun. Live, it's tough. Way. You can't see anything.
Yeah.
It's hard to hit a baseball.
The best angle in the game, which obviously you can't show live, but for replays, is that overhead view at the Trop. That's my favorite angle. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, behind home plate?
No, it's just directly above.
Oh,
okay.
It's amazing.
Yeah. The straight down. Okay.
Yeah, I'm excited to see if we get some of these new camera angles for the games. I think it'll be a lot of fun.
Well, I'm excited to see on a production level, and this is kind of boring, but how the Yes Network does the games against the Mets and stuff, because what we've been watching is rather brutal, in my opinion. They don't show the camera angle behind the pitcher. Not a lot of teams have, and I like seeing if a ball's a strike or not a strike, and how it breaks and what pitch it is. So I hope that they need to do some dry opens or whatever you call them with the production. I hope we start getting that view back. But catcher's camp's nice.
Yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there. Spring training for everyone.
Yep. All right, some not fun updates before we get into the preview of the East. Aroldis Chapman tested positive for COVID. He's out. Kopech, is that how you say it?
I think it's Kopech.
Yeah.
I believe.
He opted out of the season. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure if we know why. I'm not sure if we care why, but he opted out.
We do, yeah. It's like
he was coming
stuff.
off of TJ, so he was already rushing to get back, and I think he probably made the right decision here. Why? Well, you don't need to rush.
I think there's also some throwback Greinke stuff. I think he's had some anxiety and some kind of mental stuff through the years. So I know the White Sox coach Cooper came out with a quote that was like, "Yeah, I'm kind of worried about him," which is crazy. And I
didn't see that.
Yeah, the mental health stuff can get overlooked pretty easily, but especially in the current world we're living in. And I think the bigger thing around Kopech. And good thing we didn't do the Central preview, but it's exciting. This White Sox team is kind of exciting. They made a lot of signings, and this guy was supposed to be a big gun for him. I think we swooned about him maybe when we were doing Rookie of the Year type of betting episode, and he was the first kind of young dude that's tapped out. A lot of the other guys were either financially stable or kind of clearly had their situation, and good on him for being willing to do it if he didn't think he could do it, and you just hope for him. But you feel weird when you spin it back to baseball, but as a White Sox fan, I think you got to be pretty bummed out.
Yeah, he's got the stuff. I faced him back when he was in Charlotte in AAA. He's got real deal stuff. Like, he's got Garrett Cole level ability.
Hunch, right?
Those very hard, has a good slider, slurvish thing. And he's a big boy. Like, he's everything you want in a top-of-the-rotation guy. So, yes, the White Sox would love to have him in their rotation. the TJ thing is tough. You know, I don't know if that's contributed to some of his anxiety or what, but when he is on the mound and healthy, he is a threat. And you put him in there with Lucas and Keuchel, and you're like, okay. You know, we talked about this White Sox team a lot. It's definitely a loss for them.
Yeah. I don't know I feel like handcuffed with these discussions. It's like, well, it is what it is.
Yeah, I think, you know, the White Sox, they still have some arms. A lot of major league guys, you look at their rotation, and Trevor just mentioned Gio's at the back end right now. Dylan Cease is a big time prospect. I think if there was a world where the White Sox made some sort of run this year, I do think Kopech would have been a factor in it, but there's also a world where he wouldn't have. So,
yep. And the Chapman thing's weird. Like, he's positive, but out indefinitely because no one knows. Once he tests positive, it's like super limbo. DJ LeMahieu has 0 symptoms, but he can't get 2 negative results in a row, so he's still out. Something like that. Like, he's going to miss games at this point. Weird times. But let's move on to our preview of the NL East and AL East.
I think the only thing, do we want to do First Base Mania, or we want to save that for next
We can do it a little bit. I mean, Trev, do you see in this? Getting reps at first base is the new best shape of his life, or working on a third pitch. Like, everyone is out there.
We talked about this. Who was on that we talked about first base? Neil.
Disco
Neil was on, and we talked about first base, and it's like, it seems like all the organizations are like, hey, we can just throw our big daddies over there at first base. Good luck. You know, that's a position that requires a lot of thought, a lot of different baseball technique. It's not the old slugger, put him over there anymore with the shift going on.
Did you see the video, the picture of Vladdy Jr. holding on the runner, but he was like 3 feet away from first?
Mm-mm.
Oh, you could do that.
I know that players do that,
right?
But it's funny.
It's funny. That's the biggest thing, the biggest difference. And, you know, I can't just say it's hard and not explain why. The reason first base has become a more difficult position is because of the shifts. And they want you as close to second base essentially as you can on a right-handed batter when you're shifting the guy up the middle and you have to get back to the base. It's a whole different position now. So just throwing guys over there doesn't work. You know, they're really going to have to put some time in if they want to be legitimate first baseman. People
always care about my playing experience, but I hated first base, man. I was the, you know, coach, put me wherever you need me, and a little run at first base, it's a nightmare, man. I can't imagine being a part of a shift now where you're between second and first. You have to sprint to the bag, and then a ball's going to be coming at you 80-plus miles an hour across the diamond. That's a nightmare. So, I don't know. I'm Vladdy Jr. was the big one that leaked out, and I hope he can stick it there. I know Trev's guy, Rowdy Tellez, he can pick it at first a little bit too, but as I said, hates playing defense if you've watched him one game. But yeah, a little bummed out. And I would love to know from the Blue Jays organization, they haven't said it, but they drafted the kid from Vanderbilt who they didn't expect to get. And I wonder if they were like, well, shoot, he could be here in 12 months, 18 months. I wonder if that changed their Vlad Jr. plan. Especially with maybe part of the season. Now I think they've got Travis Shaw going over there, who he's done a little bit of it. We'll see if, like, B. Drew, Brandon Drury.
The way they sound like this is career move, not like...
Yeah, they said that he's going over there, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, when the career they're expecting Vlad Jr. to have with the stick, it's a little bit of a shrug. I would like to see him stick at third a little bit, but you know what? Let that big boy hit.
My thing is... Why didn't you just do this in the minors? Like, his bat has been ready forever. You've been saying his defense isn't ready. I know that's really like service time stuff, but I just feel like, well, if he was only going to give him 3 months, why didn't you just do this a year ago when you were holding him back for defensive reasons when his bat has been ready? It seems kind of silly.
Teams put such a value on defense now.
Yeah.
And rightfully so, because it really changes the game. If you knew Vlad wasn't going to stick at third base long term, what's the point of having him up there for a year? Like, get his reps in where you think he's going to be. I guess, you know, maybe you just try it and see what happens, but it seemed pretty obvious there. He's a big boy.
It's a big dude. I got a list of players. Vlad Jr., Andujar, Cespedes, and then people started responding to my tweet about everyone else. Gary Sanchez was over at first a little bit. I think a lot of catchers will be. Braun was. I think they stopped. Duvall, Camargo, and Riley all taking turns for the Braves.
Sure.
Bruce was taking reps over there. Solak was taking reps over there. It's everyone. It's reps at first.
Every team's got their who's taking reps at first.
Yeah, it's the new thing.
I don't think we're going to see Braun at first base a ton this year.
I think they already stopped. But yeah.
Is that inside sources, Trev?
Yeah, the most inside source.
All right.
I don't think he liked it. I think, he's like, we got a DH, guys.
Yeah.
Like, I can do that.
Yeah.
No, guys, I'm good on first base.
All right, we recorded an Eastern region preview on Friday. We're going to throw it to that right now. Thank you very much. See you later. All right, let's talk about a little NL and AL East. I guess, are we calling these divisions, conferences? Like it's not a division.
Ew.
How do you...
Ew.
League? How are you calling this?
Ugh.
You know what I mean?
Conference?
Well, what is it? It's both divisions, but it's
I
a
call it a
region.
Group.
Region. They've been calling them regions. The Eastern region. Okay.
Region.
We're gonna do a little Eastern region talk because 2 out of the 3 of us are from the East Coast, so we subscribe to East Coast bias. And Trev secretly loves New Jersey more than California, so he's in on the East Coast bias as well. Jake, do you want to kick us off? What team you want to start with?
I'll set us in a direction, and I think we'll build up to a little crescendo, a little choir talk for the kids at home. I think we just let's check off what we can check off. And there's 2 teams that aren't going to be a factor, no matter how this plays out. Sorry to our Orioles and Marlins fans, but there's just too many horses. I mean, the fact we can only rule out 2 teams is pretty ridiculous. And the Orioles are so young. On our betting preview, I said hammer the under because I think every team really wants their wins against the Orioles. The Marlins, I'll say this, I think they're going to be pretty watchable this year. They've got some major league guys. Aguilar, Villar, come over with Brian Anderson, some young pitchers. Marlins in another grouping could be a little bit of fun. Not competitive, but a little bit of fun. But here they're just getting slaughtered. That's what I got, Trev.
I mean, I don't disagree with anything that you're saying, but, if I'm looking at the PECOTA standings, the playoff projection model, you're listing the Marlins, who have a 7.2% chance to make the playoffs. You're listing the Orioles that have a 0.1% chance to make the playoff, which is hilarious. But
they just did that. It's 0.1.
It's 0.1.
Yeah.
That's so funny. Those odds makers wanted to make it 0-0, but you can't. Like, you literally can't.
There's always a chance, baby.
Well, you didn't mention the third team in that group, because there is a third team in that group, and for some reason, Jim is super high on this team.
Here comes the first hot take.
The Toronto Blue Jays.
Don't do it, Trevor.
I mean, look at the projected playoff percentage. It's at 10.3.
I mean, that's a
Barely
different grouping
above the
than
Marlins.
0, Trev. I mean, they're not. There's a middle area. I would say it's those 2 are in the basement, and then there's the Blue Jays who are at the top step of the basement stairs, and then there's the rest. So there's still a gap, but it's like the Blue Jays are in a level of their own, and then everyone else is above them. But I mean, you're looking at 0% to 10%. So I think we have to give the Blue Jays some talking.
The Marlins are 7%, 7.2%.
But Trev,
But the Marlins have 4
You guys
teams.
look, I get this way too.
The Marlins don't get to play the Orioles 10 times.
I look at Bo Bichette and Vlad Jr. and Kevin Biggio, and I fall in love too. It's a beautiful story. These guys are good. I could watch Bo Bichette hit home runs all day, every day. His swing is majestic.
Sure.
But let's be real here.
Okay.
This is not a good team either. And they're in the basement still. They're just at the top of the basement steps. Like, okay.
Yeah, and the Marlins are halfway up. The thing the Marlins don't have going for them is they don't have the Orioles in division.
So
maybe the Orioles are like, hey, I'm glad we have the Blue Jays in the division. At least we'll get those.
Do you think there's a world? Bet. Do you think there's a world where the Toronto Blue Jays can be better than the Red Sox this year?
I mean, there's a very much that world.
I mean, yeah. I guess
Yeah.
There's a chance. Yeah.
Yeah,
The Orioles have a chance to
even
make
if
the
it's
playoffs.
25%, that's 1 out of 4, and this whole season is so unique that I think 1 out of 4 has to be taken somewhat respectfully. And dude, they can be a real lineup. Like
I want them to be. I don't want that to be misconstrued.
Like Vlad Jr. can be special. Bo Bichette can be special. Kevin Biggio can be special. The guy that Kevin Biggio, when I asked him, like, who's the guy that wows you? They say it's Lourdes Gurriel Jr. We're up to 4 young dudes. I know you love young dudes. And I'm just saying, short season, and the second half of that roster ain't bad. A guy like Grichuk, if Travis Shaw can figure out whatever happened last year, like this team is going to hit. The question is, they have one starting pitcher right now that you buy into. It's Ryu. We'll see how he adjusts to being on the East and out of the NL. The other guys are major leaguers, though. I mean, Chase Anderson, Tanner Roark, Matt Shoemaker. You know, those guys are pros, and it's 60 games. So I don't think we can lump them with the Orioles and the Fish.
I'm just saying you can.
Wow.
For the Orioles,
anything can happen in this shortened season, yes. But if we're just talking about in general, the strength of the teams, yeah.
real quick, the Orioles, by what to watch for is John Means. If you are an Orioles fan, John Means, watch him.
Nice changeup.
Alex Cobb, he may be traded if he has a really hot start and someone's dying for a professional arm. And who's the other guy, Jake? Who's the guy that Santander?
Hanser Alberto hit like 400 against lefties, so that's cool.
So that's just a fun storyline.
Hanser. We saw him in spring
training.
training.
They're our friends,
All right,
Cobb and Hanser.
Move on. The Marlins, Caleb Smith might get traded. Aguilar might get traded. If the guys have really good starts, get traded. We can't give these guys a lot of time when we're only trying to do half hour.
Derek Jeter versus Plouffe.
Blue Jays, we kind of just talked about them. Do I think that they're going to be a wild card team and win the division? No. Do I think they can be a pesky team that maybe helps eliminate other teams? Yes. The Orioles can't be pesky. That's the difference there. The Blue Jays have a chance to play spoiler a little bit because they have a lot of talent. They're young. The pitching isn't there yet. And like when this team comes to fruition and all these the young bats are solidified, this won't be the rotation. This is a stopgap rotation to keep them competitive with the young guys going and not just demoralize them and say, we're not trying. So that's my thoughts on the Blue Jays.
Okay. Yeah.
All right.
I mean, they still got Ken 100 Miles Giles. They got Ryu. What can they connect in between? And
they got a guy named Rowdy Tellez, who I feel like you're going to be a big fan of if you don't know him.
I love
already.
Rowdy.
He's just a big boy, and he just tries to hit homers.
They named him Rowdy because he was so active in the womb.
You can clearly tell that he hates playing defense. Like Rowdy Tellez might be the next 10-year DH guy.
I love that.
When he's been in the field, he looks miserable.
Give me Rowdy Tellez, Mike Ford, and Vogelbach in a room.
Meats.
And then you put them in a room, and then you take a picture of the three of them, and then you send it to England. And you say, these are 3 professional athletes.
Yeah.
And they're like, what fucking sport is that?
Yeah.
They probably think it's some like movement sport, like lifting or moving boulders. Yeah. All right. What team do you want to go to next, Jake?
All right. Let's well, I was going to say let's jump to the NL, but it's the team that I mentioned to the Blue Jays because I think there is a world where the Blue Jays are better than the Red Sox. I think there also is a world where the Red Sox are like in the wild card hunt this year. Their lineup can still do it. When Boston was special, the top of their lineup was just unbelievable. But they've lost Mookie. They're without Sale this year. Who's the other pitcher they lost? I mean, Porcello's gone. That's kind of a plus for this year. But I don't know. The arms just don't seem to be there. But I never count out a Boston team, and I think Devers is special. Bogarts is proven. JD Martinez. If Benny can back up, that top of the lineup can play with anyone. And then, dude, guys like Chavez and Verdugo, I mean, that lineup can do it. I mean, if you compare their pitching to the Blue Jays, I think you'd rather have the Blue Jays.
Yeah.
That's comparable.
Want to know my take for the Red Sox? And it's a very sports radio take. It's not X's and O's.
Sure.
They have no identity right now.
Ooh.
They lose Sale. They lose Price. They lose Mookie. They lose Alex Cora. They lose their replay control guy who was the heart and soul of the team. Are they trying to win? Is it a stopgap year? Do they care? Like, I had some Red Sox fans message me and say they were jealous that, like, my heart was going to be on the line because theirs just isn't. And that's what I think is the biggest plaguing this Reds. Who are they? Like, is this Devers and Bogart's team?
Yeah.
Is this JD and Benintendi's team? I mean, Evaldi and Erod, they're not leading any staff with, like, like, that's our fucking horse, like Sale was. So I think it's more, if they get off to a bad start, the Red Sox, when they're good, they're scary. When they're anything besides good, they're horrible. They're first place or fifth place. So if they get off to a bad start, I can see them all throwing their hands up and being like, fuck this.
Yeah, I mean, this year could be a blessing in disguise for Red Sox fans because all you have to do is get off to a hot start and bam, you're right in the thick of things.
Yeah.
So if over 162, this Red Sox team is going to pull back and be middle of the pack in that Eastern region. But over 60 games, like we said, everyone's got a chance. I think this team is much better than the Blue Jays.
Okay.
I think they're just more established. Like this is a proven lineup. They can score runs. The pitching is obviously not there, but there's something about the Red Sox, and sometimes you count that team out and they can come out and have a big year. So I do like the lineup, but if there was a year where they could make a splash, it is through a 60-game season.
I love that dirty water. And I think
Pilar's hitting like 300.
Pilar's hitting 300. I'll say, leaning into what Jimmy said, there's a couple ways this can go. It seems like one or the other. And this sounds like Yankee stuff, but if you're a Boston fan, I think you should take this kind of seriously. If this year does fall out, kind of take that as a blessing. It's 60 games. You traded away Mookie. Go get yourself like a top draft pick. And this year wasn't supposed to be big for Boston. You traded away Mookie Betts. Sale's out for the year. Like, be honest. At the same time, I always fear a Boston team that gets some energy behind it. And Trevor, I can't believe you didn't drop his name.
I'm going to.
This is Bloom's first year, and what if he can put the notch in his belt that says, I traded away Mookie Betts and I then brought them to the playoffs? I could see your boy liking that.
I mean, who knows? Look, another thing that we haven't talked a lot about is this trade deadline and what teams are going to be in it, what teams are going to be over it. I mean, who knows who's going to be available? If Heim goes out there and he pulls off an unbelievable trade, like finds a diamond in the rough for the last 30 games, you can see him sneaking into the playoffs. I mean, that's a very perfect world. I mean, we're being overly optimistic with this, but again, man, we're going to keep probably reiterating this throughout the episode. Like, this is going to be an interesting year.
So I'm going to try and do some schedule talk, just lightly.
Schedule talk.
For the Red Sox, they have 9 games that they open up. They open up Orioles, 3 games against the Orioles, 4 games against the Mets. They need to have a good record in those first 7 games because then they have Yankees, Rays, Blue Jays, Rays, Yankees.
Yeah,
so
it's a lot.
So, what was I saying? Okay, so
I think we're done with the Sox.
Basically, those first 7 games, if they're like 2-5, you might go demoralized mode when you're looking down 10 versus Yankees and Rays coming up.
Yeah, and what's really sucks for the Red Sox fans is they don't have Fenway. I mean, Fenway is the saving grace. You get to go there. It's a beautiful stadium. Even if they suck, it's fun to go to Fenway.
They're still going to get to go to Fenway.
Yeah, I don't know what you mean by that.
The fans?
Oh,
no,
the fans.
I thought
you were talking about the
team.
Players. Yeah.
No, the
fans.
I
thought you were talking about the players feeding off Fenway fans. You're just talking about fans.
No.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Sorry. If you guys,
Makes more sense.
Maybe I didn't speak
I
correctly,
get it now.
but
Makes more sense.
All right, Jake, where you want to go next?
So, I think we've trimmed down 3 from the East. I think we need to bring it back over to the NL, and I think there's clearly 2 teams that are a tier below the cream of the crop. It's the Phils and the Mets, and I think both of these teams have kind of similar layouts, and I've got my first Quake Jake take, And it's something I said in the offseason, and I just talked myself out of it. I don't know if it's being in New York. I like the Mets roster a lot better than the Phillies. I really do. I think they both have strong lineups, deep, even with weapons on the bench that you can plug in. And from there, you go to the pitching. You know, they've got DeGrom at the top and Stroman. The Phillies, they have Nola and Wheeler, and then it kind of trickles down for both sides from there. I think that's fair. I kind of like having DeGrom. You can lean into that, although, you know, Nola's good, but DeGrom's special. And then the Mets bullpen should be good. It was atrocious last year. The Mets bullpen has a lot of talent. They should be good. And, dude, I looked at the Phillies bullpen before, and Trev, I know you were there for a little bit. And, like, Sir Anthony was supposed to be kind of the up-and-coming closer for them. He's out. D-Rob's on the mend right now. Like, you look in that bullpen, and I don't know if I want to kick it back to Jim, too, or whoever wants it. But, Jim, like, you're going to look at that Phillies bullpen and let out, like, All
right. I mean, I will say this. Girardi is somewhat of a bullpen whisperer, and I have no idea. I forget the Mets manager's name, which I apologize for. Luis Rojas. Luis Rojas. No idea how he's going to use the bullpen because he does have some weapons out there with the Mets. Like, you know, Betances is a pretty big get for them.
I mean, Edwin Diaz can't possibly be what he was last year.
No. Yeah, they got a lot of talent in that Mets bullpen.
Familia is like the fifth guy out of their pen.
And they brought in Jared Hughes, so that's huge.
Huge.
Who's this Phillies bullpen? That's what you want me to look at?
Dude, look at the current Phillies bullpen on Fangraphs, and I'm sorry.
I agree with you with the Phillies bullpen. I've seen
Adam
these guys
Morgan, Nick Pivetta, Jose Alvarez, Robert Stock.
They're gonna need some guys to take some steps forward and have good years. I mean, a guy like Anthony Swarzak, like a couple of years ago, was dominant.
Right.
He's, you know, obviously one of my good buddies, so I'm a little biased there. I mean, he has a chance to do that again.
Yeah.
He's a big boy. His arm's fine. You know, if he goes out there and executes, he can have a good year, and that'll be a big boost to them. Especially, yeah, like you said, Sir Anthony was kind of the guy. Loved watching him pitch, but that's a big blow for them.
What rotation do you like better, honestly? Phillies, Mets. DeGrom, Stroman, Porcello. Did you just do this?
I mean, I didn't do the full thing. I did the top three.
They're very similar. I might lean with the Phillies because I think the three starter's better. I think Arrieta's better than a Porcello.
It's super tight. I go Mets just because I know in DeGrom I'm locked down. I mean, Stroman.
Nola's along the same line.
Nola's there, but DeGrom's also back-to-back Cy Young, so in a way he's not, you know. It's a toss-up.
Okay. Syndergaard, it's not a toss-up with him in the Mets rotation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So weird
I
how that
I think the
changes
Phillies lineup is better than the Mets. I really think it's not even close.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Kutch, Segura, Harper, Hoskins, Romuto, Bruce.
It's a
dude,
long
Didi's pretty good.
lineup of bangers.
Yeah, on paper, I'm with you, Trev.
Hey, I mean, if Alonso, we'll see if he can recreate whatever he had doing last year. I mean, Jeff McNeil, say what you want, but he's proved to be one of the best contact guys the past couple years. Nimmo gets on base. J.D. Davis can hit. I mean, it's a long lineup. Dominic Smith, I mean, what kind of Cespedes are you getting? He's currently on their bench. And, like, at the same time, if Cespedes was their 4-hole hitter in a month, would any of us be shocked? Like, I don't think so. The guy's that talented. So, I think they got the sticks. I guess you could say the Phillies is a little stronger with, you know, leaning into the middle with Harper, Hoskins. But I think the lineups are close.
Realmuto's
good for a catcher. I mean, you know.
He's a stud. No, he bangs.
He's the best catcher in baseball right now, but his stats are that of a quality outfielder. Like, so I don't know. I just think the pitching staffs are a coin flip. The Phillies maybe get the lineup in a little bit of a lean, but the bullpens right now, I mean, if they can get the best out of half of the guys I'm about to name, Edwin Diaz, Betances, Seth Lugo, Justin Wilson, Uris Familia, Giselman. Like, if only 3 of those work, Like, that's a solid bullpen. And the Phillies don't have that.
Yeah, and they also don't have like guys coming up, at least that I know. I mean,
It's when can Robertson get healthy? That's like their Hail Mary.
He told us he was a quick healer.
His body looked good. I didn't realize he was going to be diced up like that.
Oh, he's diced up, yeah.
Tight.
Yeah.
Maybe Nick Pivetta figures it out in the bullpen. I don't know if they're stretching him out or he's in the bullpen right now, but like a guy like that, like he got stuff that could play up in the bullpen. They're going to have to like have something like that for them to really make a run at this thing. Bullpens are important. We know that. Yeah. More so now than ever.
I mean, they got Swarzak. They got a lot of non-roster invitees. They got
his we call him Sweezy.
If Girardi,
I don't know a lot of them.
And Jim, that's a great angle. If Girardi can piece it together, something he's proved he can, and then Robertson.
I love Girardi, man.
If Robertson,
I don't love
back,
everything about him. I like him in a 60-game season, but he's good at bullpen management. But he's always had good weapons. Skill. He doesn't really have weapons right now, so I don't know if that translates. But he's good at not burning guys out, giving them roles, empowering them in that role, and like he's good at bullpen management.
Okay.
So that's one of his plugs. All right, where do you want to go next, Jake?
Mets or Phillies? Gun to your head.
It's really tough.
It's tight, man.
It's really tough.
There's one thing the Phillies have going for them.
What's that?
They're not the Mets.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go Phillies.
Okay.
And that's like, Mets fans know that.
Yeah.
If McCutchen comes out and just like is healthy throughout the entire season, then I lean Phillies for sure. I think he's the guy.
Those games are going to be fun.
Yeah.
Like the non-DeGrom Nola games. I'll watch any of those.
So McCutchen's one of those guys that I'm sorry.
No, you go.
So McCutchen's one of those guys you go look at his numbers and you're like, holy shit.
He's MVP. I want to go look at these schedules and find out when these guys match up, beginning of the season or end of the season.
Okay. Well, I'll kick it to Trev. You want to go Braves Nats or you want to go Yanks Rays?
Let's go Braves and the Rays.
Oh, okay. So the second place teams in theory projected.
Well, yes. I actually Pacoda has the Mets as the second team.
Phillies and Mets don't play until they play 3 games in July, and the rest of the 7 are in September. So it's those might be very fun to watch.
Those could be fun. I like that. That's something to look forward to.
How does Pacoda have the Mets over the Braves right now, and by a significant margin?
I think it's the pitching stuff. I don't know. I don't know. I remember that came out like before the actual season, and Petriello was tweeting about it or something. But I think they also had Syndergaard then. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean these are updated standings.
Yeah.
Updated simulations.
I don't know.
Look, I want to go with the Rays. We'll start with the Rays.
Your Rays.
I've picked them to win the 2020 COVID Cup.
Yes.
I'm just kidding. It's the World Series. We're gonna treat it as a regular season.
Yes.
I put a lot of stock, and this kind of goes against like how I generally feel about baseball organizations, but I put a lot of stock into that organization and the way they run it and the way they're able to exploit the platoon matchups, put guys in advantageous situations. They do it better than anyone. And with this deep roster pool, a team like that has an advantage. Obviously, I love their starting pitching. I think their lineup's deeper than you give it credit for. Their defense is outstanding. They kind of are a team that, do I wish they had one more big bat in their lineup? Yes, but I don't think they need it. And like we're saying, and I said this earlier, this trade deadline is going to be interesting. I think that's a team that's going to be very aggressive in the market.
What are they going to do that we don't see coming? Like
Francisco Lindor.
No, that would not. That would be so opposite of the Rays. Like everything you're saying about how like you're buying into how they work as an organization. When have they ever made a signing for a big free agent in the middle of the season? I would guess it's 0.00000 repeating. It just doesn't.
Yeah, but I think they could get the reason I say that is
Trev.
I think Lindor's on a discount. These guys are bargain shoppers.
Okay, but
going to get Lindor during a regular full-length season might cost you a little more. I think he's going to be a little cheaper this year. I could be totally wrong about that.
Yeah, that doesn't fit who they are. I meant between the lines, lineups, roster, what are they going to do? They went to the opener first. They went to all the crazy shifts first. There is something the Rays are going to do to manipulate the 60-game season that we don't see coming, that they have planned out already.
I think they're just going to pitch and platoon you to death. Plouffe.
We talked about this. I'm sorry. I have to mention this because we talked about it. That defensive lineup that they can throw out there with the outfielders, I think we could see them do that.
Jim, I think, and maybe that's the take, that they're almost going to have like a special teams. Like they can put in a defensive lineup that's like
I love that.
Like unseen, especially in the outfield. And we joked with Austin Meadows about it when we talked to him, and he was like, "Hey, do you ever tell Kiermaier to like get out of here?" And he kind of chuckled, and he's like, "No, go get it, man.
Yeah.
Like if he wants it, fine." And they've got dudes who can do that. I just think they're going to platoon you to death. Look at their pitchers, and I know, again, being Yankee fans, we get to see these guys, and you might not know who Colin Poche is or Oliver Drake, but they're nightmares. They're absolute nightmares. Like, you don't, and those are their 6 best guys in the rotation. Brendan McKay, who is a top pick and a two-way player. Jalen Beeks, who is the big piece in the Evaldi trade. They're guys that are like flexible pieces at the end of their pen. Every person on that team that can pitch can pitch. And it's
you didn't even say the guy that I think's the scariest out of the pen, just stuff-wise, Diego Castillo.
I didn't mention any of their good guys. It's Anderson, Castillo,
Okay.
Alvarado, Chaz Rowe.
Yeah.
Nick Anderson is something else too.
Yeah.
Like every guy that comes in can pitch, and that also might be what they can raise almost playoff game every game and look incredible. And I just
Diego
think
Castillo is a walking broken wrist. Like his two-seamer's just like he is just going to break wrists.
it's filthy. But no, I'll do the quick platoons. I mean, with the lefties, you have a guy like Brandon Lowe, Austin Meadows, G-Man Choi, Susugo, my guy, Kiermaier, Nate Lau, the first baseman. He put up huge minor league numbers. He got the call last year. Joey Wendell, you could throw him out there. Those are your lefties. Oh, you're throwing a left-handed pitcher out there? You're going to keep Meadows in, but you got Yandy Diaz. You've got Hunter Renfroe, who's got huge splits. Willie Adames, he'll probably be out there at short all the time. But then you could go with someone like Jose Martinez. Forget if I mentioned him. He came over in the St. Louis trade, and now he has a position, a.k.a. can DH. Manny Margot's got some okay splits, and he's another guy that just covers full outfields by himself. So I think they're just going to pitch and platoon you to absolute death.
I agree.
Yeah. It's not going to be fun to play him.
No.
Even if you beat him, it's not going to be fun to play him.
Because, dude, even if you knock out their starter, they're going to Jalen Beeks or Brandon McKay, who are good. Like, fuck, man. That's a little scary.
Have they been in this position where they're this good prior to the season? Like, have they been this good in their franchise history? They've had some good teams.
I will say this.
The
and
Price Longoria years, they were close.
This is going to sound snobby. I thought that they lacked poise last year. There were some big series where you could tell they were breathing a little heavier, and it felt like they were like, oh, shit, our expectations are high. Like, I remember some pitching performances, and it was Snell and McKay, and McKay was rookie, but it was like it just seemed like they were like, oh, boy, expectations are finally here.
Teams need to go through that, though.
Yeah, and they did it for 1 year, so they may be great. They might be in a perfect position this year.
Yeah. I really like him. Like everything about him.
Dude, go to pitcherlist.com and just watch Diego Castillo's stuff. Look at this
nasty.
two-seamer. 100 mile per hour with like half a foot of run.
It moves like a changeup.
Yeah. It's
moves like a
100 miles
changeup.
per hour. What a night.
No, I mean, they're like any of the... There's about 6 guys in their bullpen that if they were on your team, you'd be like, yo, Poche's nasty. Like, that's who the Rays are.
I mean, who's a guy that they could go get? You're saying no to Lindor. I think that's a possibility. Who are the other guys that are going to be available that they could go get?
George Springer, if the Astros blow it.
I don't even think they're going to go get anyone.
If there was a year, I'm kind of with Trevor, because I think the more numbers go into it, other teams are going to be gun shy. If another team traded for Lindor, they're thinking about filling the house. Like Tampa doesn't worry about that anyways. If there's a year, I think this would be the year. But to Jimmy's point, they've just never done it.
Never done it. No.
Yeah. I'm a little nervous to hop over to the next team. It's the Atl Braves. And I'm coming down on my Braves love, so I might need you guys to hype me up.
You have the whole Braves fan base loving you.
I mean,
you do.
I love Acuna. Everybody knows this. And why wouldn't you? I love Ronald. You should love Ronald too. End of statement. There's no reason you should dislike him. Ozzy Albies, pound for pound, most power in MLB baseball. We got to see it live.
Little Monster. Is that his official
awesome.
nickname yet? Little Monster?
I don't know. We can try. We can force that. Freddie Freeman, stud. Jimmy's got the over on the batting average. Take it.
And he's already had COVID.
Yeah, so hopefully, knock on wood, hopefully he's doing better and everything. And we can kind of assume that. I'm just saying the lineup thins out after that. And we're talking about the Mets and Phillies who are going to be pushing them. That being said, we're not getting to the Braves pitching, which is much better than both of those teams. But, like, right now, Fangraphs has d'Arnaud penciled into the cleanup spot.
No.
Ender Inciarte, 5. Young, thick Austin Riley. Yonder Alonso, go check out Sequence, non-roster invite. He's only in there for Freddie Freeman, excuse me. So everyone slides down a spot. But still, the second half of this lineup...
Freeman's the 4-hole.
The second half of this lineup is guys that aren't known for their hitting, at least yet. And I don't know. That's all I'm saying. We talked about the Phillies lineup. We talked about the Mets lineup. If something happens with one of their big three, Acuna, Albies, and Freeman, I would be worried about this team.
Is Dansby Swanson
for a lot of teams?
Is Dansby Swanson playing for like his rep in these 60 games?
No.
I mean, if he doesn't show anything, do they move on?
No. 60 games.
If it was a full season, would we be saying that?
I think it could be part of the discussion. But I think he's had some weird injuries and some stuff. I think Dansby has
now you're making me do a deep dive on Dansby real quick.
Hot boy of summer.
I see what you're saying. I need to see his defensive metrics to really give you the right answer there. He's not a offense first shortstop.
And hard to find those guys every now and then, you know?
Yes.
And I do think he has some splits and a couple injury-timed slumps that have hurt him.
Yeah, he didn't play a lot last year. He had a good September, so he's coming off a hot month. I'm just saying.
I'm with you there, Jim. I could see that, but he's entering his year 26 season. This is prime. Yeah, I agree with you. Like if it doesn't happen this year, we're going to be talking.
It's going to be loud.
How
about that? If it doesn't happen, there might not be consequences of it, but the conversation will get loud next offseason.
It's fair.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
The hardest thing the Braves have, dude, is their schedule. They face every good pitcher in this region, basically, besides Cole, in the first 14 games. It's nuts. Like, when do they get a breather? They open up Mets. So they're going to get the top 3 of the Mets. Then Rays, bottom 2 with the Rays bullpen. Then, 4 against the Rays. So then they'll see the top of the Rays, too, on the back half. Then they go back to the Mets. So maybe that'll be nice. They get Porcello or Mats in the back end of the Mets. Then the Jays, that's a breather. Phillies, then they're going to face the Yankees. So it's just that opening is brutal, you know, where it's a short season. So
yeah,
I like the Braves. The best thing they have going for them is their pitching and the top half of their lineup. But their pitching's
They're gonna
great.
be a fun team to
Soroka's a
watch.
stud. Freed's a stud.
I mean, Freddie Freeman's missing some time right now. We've been watching the Yankees scrimmages, and the pitchers are so far ahead of the hitters. Where's Freddie going to be when he comes back? I wouldn't bet against Freddie Freeman, but I don't know. Like, they put so much into Acuna, Freeman, and Albies that, who's going to step up from the rest of the lineup if something happens to one of those guys? And they still don't have the hammer in their bullpen. Right now it's Melanson, Shane Green, Luke Jackson, Martin, and they've got Newcomb in there for now, which all those guys can do it.
O'Day.
But, I mean, who's the guy who's coming out that you're like, oh, fuck?
I mean, Shane Green was a really good closer at one point. Luke Jackson is there. Those guys their top level is good. If those three guys play at their top level, that's three good guys.
Right, but you've also said before that you don't believe in Luke Jackson as a closer as of now.
You can. I've never said that. I said he does not look like a closer because he doesn't have a weird vibe to him. It was nothing about his skill set in the slightest.
He does have a weird vibe to him.
No, he does now that he grew out the beard.
He's got a look now.
He looks like a kid from 2015 that shops at PacSun and rides skateboards to school. And it's like, that's not the closer vibe. You got to look menacing or weird.
And by the way, he's got a career 4.6 ERA, so I'm
just saying when those guys are good, they're good. All right, we're past 30 minutes, so we got to...
Oh, we're going 45.
Can I just say this about Dansby real quick?
Yeah.
I remember last year he started off like gangbusters. And then he did have an injury that like his basically completely tore up his second half. So there is promise there, but like you're saying, if this year comes and he's at that 84 OPS plus number again, I mean, yeah, we're going to start talking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Adds up. All right. We got two teams left.
Yanks and the Nats. Trev, go get them.
Look, you know why I love I'll save the Yankees for you guys. The Nats, I love them, and I think I'm underrating them because we talked about the departure of Rendon, but for every reason that I like teams, I mean, they still have all those things. They have the best starting rotation in baseball. That's what I say. At least the top three guys. So they still have that. They have a lineup that can get it done. They're still kind of old, which is funny to me. Typically we don't like that, but they found a way to get it done. I think there's a lot of recency bias, at least in my head, with watching them and how they just came through. And then, obviously the one guy that everybody knows is Juan, our boy. He's a sleeper for NL MVP. You combine that with a rotation like that, and you kind of see why, they're pegged to win their division.
I think they have the top 1, 2, 3 in baseball. I still think Sanchez, Strasburg, and Corbin are the most complete and dominant 1, 2, 3. Scherzer. What did I say? Or whatever.
Sanchez.
Yeah, whatever. I meant whatever. You know what I'm saying. I think they're good.
Everybody
their lineup's interesting. They picked up all those old 2B/3B guys.
Yeah.
It's interesting. That's a way to put their lineup.
Yeah.
It really is.
Like Trey Turner, I like what he's doing out there. Adam Eaton, interested. Starlin Castro, interested. He's been in basically like being held at bay in Miami for a little bit. Starlin Castro can hit, man. I mean, he can hit. A lot of people don't like his analytics or peripherals or whatever, but the dude can hit baseball. So, but it's like Soto's awesome. Dude, the lineup's so weird. It's so weird. It's weird to look at. Eaton, Castro, Kendrick, Thames, Robles, Gomes. Like, it's all such like, I guess, but I don't know.
No,
but
it is. It's kind of going back to the Red Sox when they did it. Like, Soto's the stud. He's right in the middle. All these guys have bat-to-ball skill. Like, none of these guys are kind of that when you see a pitcher who's got their fastball slider working on the right day and you're like, oh, boy, we're getting mowed down. Like, Turner, Eaton, Castro, Howie Kendrick. If Ass Crabs gets in there, like, all these dudes are putting up at bats. Like, I don't know. And you just have to believe the formula works as of now.
Mm-hmm.
I think Trey Turner's a guy that I criminally underrate.
He's good. He won me over this year. I wasn't bought in. Or in the World Series.
So, when you put him and Soto up there and then you surround him with all those old wily vets, plus the rotation, bullpen is above average. I don't know if I'd say anything more than that. But when you got those horses, I mean,
yeah,
you don't need it.
The bullpen even was bad last year. They were the worst in baseball in the regular season, and then they figured it out. Or the worst in the NL. So, yeah, and they brought over Harris, so Doolittle, Hudson, and Harris. That's kind of nice. Tanner Rainey. Okay.
Want to know what's awesome for the Nationals?
What's that?
They are the proximity rival to the Orioles.
Yeah.
So they get 6 games against the Orioles, and those come decently early in the first half of the season. They open up against the Yankees. We all know that, and that's a fun series. Then they get Toronto for 4, Miami for 3, Mets, Baltimore, Mets, Baltimore. So they can put together a little run there. If they are the top echelon team that we think they are, they should, after the first 3 weeks, be sitting kind of pretty. Going into a harder September, a lot of Phillies, a lot of Braves, a lot of 4 games against the Rays, and then they end Phillies Mets. So that September for the Nats is a grind. So they need to get off to an early lead in those first 3 weeks, 4 weeks.
The NL East is a mess.
Yeah, it's tough, man.
You can't say the Nationals are the team in the NL East. I can't say it. They have the best pitching in the NL East, but or at least the best starters. But
if I'm a Nats fan and I'm looking at this schedule, I'd like those Tampa Bay Rays games in September to be switched with those Baltimore games in July. Just give us a breather in September. But
if the Mets or the Braves won this division, you'd be like, okay. It wouldn't be a shock like the Nationals. I just don't think they're that far ahead of those other 2 teams, and even the Phillies.
I'm just in on the horses, man. My whole kind of off-season take was that I kind of didn't love this team over 162. Strasburg's got a lot of miles for a 32-year-old. Scherzer's 36 this year, and he's had some back stuff. So
and Strasburg's got the bag now.
He's got the bag. But I think all these old birds are saying, "Hey, let's run it back for 60 games and do it." And man, they've got the position power ranking on Fangraphs, and they have Corbin, Scherzer, Strasburg as 3 of the top 8 starting pitchers last year. Yeah. So if those guys are on for 60 games, it's theirs, I think.
And they got their rings. Ooh,
ring night.
All right, last 5 minutes. Let's do the Yanks.
Who's this last team?
Yanks are the worst thing the Yanks had going for them is not being healthy. They weren't healthy all last year. They won 103 games. Right now, as I speak, they are primarily healthy, and because of last year having so many guys have to step up and play, their depth is kind of insane. And if depth is going to be a big thing this year, that has them sitting pretty. Their rotation, Cole really helps out. There was times last year where Paxton really was a struggle because his first inning woes sucked. His first half and his last half of the season were really good, and he has the talent to be good. Tanaka, as Yankee fans, you just believe in Tanaka when a game matters. He will have huge duds. He will have huge duds in his season that always mess up his ERA. He'll have 4 games that just kill his ERA for the entire season, and the rest of the year, he's awesome.
Last year was 2.
Last year was 2 starts.
He had a 12 earned run and an 8. And you can do that with some starting pitchers, I'm sure. But Massa was an all-star last year.
You'll rarely look at his ERA to end the season and be like, "Wow, he had a good year." It's just not reflective because he has such duds constantly.
And if you like playoff ERA, go check out Tanaka's playoff ERA.
Then they do have Happ and Montgomery as their back 2, and Happ was brutal last year. Montgomery's coming off injury, so they're kind of question marks that we're going into the season with. So the rotation's not 5 deep. I would say the top 3 is in the top half of MLB pretty easily. I don't think it's as good as the Nats. It's not as good as you could say the Rays is better. But it's good. It's a good top 3. Their lineup's just fucking deep, man. Aaron Hicks is really good defensively, and he'll get on base at a great clip. Aaron Judge, when healthy, his numbers are the exact same as Christian Yelich and Mookie Betts and everyone else. He just needs to be healthy, which he currently is. Gleyber Torres is a stud. Giancarlo Stanton, when healthy, is one of the best players in baseball. Gary Sanchez, when healthy, fastest guy to hit a home run. So it sounds like a Yankees homer pod, but they're good. It's a good team that's stacked. They should be a team that, there's teams that I'm looking at the schedule thinking, oh, shit, the Nationals, that's going to be a tough matchup. Oh, shit, the Rays, that's going to be a tough matchup. I think every team is going to be looking at the Yankees in that light.
Yeah.
Of course. I mean, and you even mentioned the bullpen. I think the bullpen is strong to quite strong.
I think it's the best bullpen in baseball easily.
Yes.
At least the back end. Chapman, Britton, Ottavino, Canley, Chad Green.
I mean, it's
if you're not familiar,
five deep of studs.
And I think the storyline is because, like you said, with the hitting and our Talkin baseball signature is your team better than we do. Well, this one we kind of got a good grip on. That's why Jimmy's listing the facts. The lineup's gonna figure itself out. I mean, the questions the Yankees are asking about their lineup are between Miguel Andujar, who had a special rookie year, and Mike Tauchman, who came out and was one of the best players in baseball for like a month and a half. The lineup is going to figure itself out. Garrett Cole is going to be Garrett Cole. It's how the rest of the starting pitching sorts out. We know Tanaka is going to give us something. Are you getting James Paxton, who's one of the better pitchers in baseball, or are you getting kind of an inconsistent James Paxton? And look out, they've got a couple young guys, and it's who's going to step up. Everyone's hyped on Clark Schmidt right now because he has an electric slider. And I think what I had done is I had talked myself out of all the rookies this year, and now I've talked myself into the rookies this year because at the end of a normal baseball season, every team has one or two rookies that they lean on. Like, hey, you had the regular season to learn, kid. We need you now. And I think it's either going to be Clark Schmidt, Davy Garcia, or another young pitcher that steps up and has to be impactful for the Yankees because the Rays are going to be around.
Yeah.
Too deep of Yankees talk, but I'll save it. You see the Davy Garcia and I don't put him in that category. That's all I'll say right now. They only threw him 12 pitches yesterday when they threw Mike King and Clark Schmidt a bunch. I don't even think the Yankees are putting him in that category.
I think they have him as a reliever.
Very kid gloves, but he didn't impress me like Clark Schmidt has.
What do you got, Trev? Outside of Yankee realm,
they're a special team. They are just very, very deep. I don't love the starting pitching. I've been pretty vocal about that. I get some pushback from you guys on it about Tanaka, about Paxton. We know who Cole is. Obviously, he's going to be there. But they're going to need those guys, to step up. Or if it's not Paxton and Tanaka, then you need somebody else to step up. Clark Schmidt, from everything that I've seen, is pretty damn good. Looks like he's ready. But he's still got to come do it. So I think that's the weakness of their team, and it's really not a weakness,
Well,
they're going to be there. They can win 45 games.
Trev, let me put it this way, and it's just a new way to look at it. What rotation do you like better? Garrett Cole, James Paxton, Masahiro Tanaka, J.A. Happ, and Jordan Montgomery. Those five, do you like those better than Tanaka, Happ, Paxton, Domingo Germán, and CC Sabathia?
I know where you're going with this.
Because last year they won 103 games with the second five, who is drastically worse than the one that includes Cole.
I'll
CC.
keep saying this on this podcast, Jim, on this show here that we have, Talkin Baseball, an MLB podcast, brought to you by Jomboy Media.
5 stars.
Subscribe. Rate us 5 stars. Check out Sequence. I don't care about last year. Nobody cares about last year. This is this year. I get we're talking stats. They won 103 games last year. That is awesome. They were a good team. It's different this year. Everything's different this year. So they need to step up, dude. They have this.
Yeah.
They should be in the World Series. If they are not in the World Series, this is a huge disappointment for the Yankees. I know that happens a lot for you guys.
Yeah. No, last year
So
was the
it's not
same
any
way.
different.
I mean, but the injuries did suck last year.
Last year was the first year that those Yankees expectations were back. 2017 was fun. It was young Judge. It was Gary.
Yeah. The baby bombers.
Last year, it was full on, and this year's the same. So, yeah.
If Aaron Judge is healthy for 60 games, they're going to win a lot of ball games.
I Googled Trevor Plouffe and Jay Happ because he's one of your soft-throwing lefty types. I didn't get the BVP.
I don't think it was good.
And I think we've done this before because I think he kind of had the better of you. But do you know what event you guys were linked to on April 18th, 2014?
Come on.
April 18th.
April 18th, 2014.
I don't.
After walking Plouffe to lead off the inning, Santos uncorked a wild pitch. Yada, yada, yada. Minnesota Twins draw franchise record 8 walks in 1 inning.
Wow.
How about that?
That must have been boring as shit.
Just suck.
And Happ was pitching?
Happ came in to relieve somebody.
Yeah. I don't think I had good numbers against him. One of those guys I probably should have, but I didn't.
Cool. All right. Well, there is your Eastern region preview. We're going to be tacking these onto each episode this week. So on Wednesday, we will be doing the Central, and on Friday, we will be doing the West. Thank you very much for listening. We appreciate it. Music has started. It's gently playing. And now it'll continue to gently play. And eventually it'll pick up.